Story Corner, presented by Jennifer. The Cat Who. Book 1, The Cat Who Could Read Backwards. Chapter 7, Part at the press club on Wednesday night. I know where it is. Your name was spelled with a U yesterday, but we caught it in the second edition. You know what's going to happen, don't you? The next time the typographic union meets with management, the spelling of your name is going to be one of their grievances. I have another beef too. I wasn't hired to be an orderly for your art critic, but that's what he seems to think. Do you know he's leaving town tonight? I guessed as much, Art said. The last batch of tapes included enough copies for 3 columns. First, I delivered those tapes for him, and then I picked up his ticket for a 3 o'clock plane this afternoon. Now I'm expected to do latrine duties for his cat. Wait till Odd Burson hears this. Don't tell him. Nosy Burson will find out soon enough in his own devious ways. I'm supposed to feed the cat twice a day, change his drinking water, and attend to his commode. Do you know what a commode is? I can guess. It was new to me. I thought cats just ran out in the backyard. There's nothing in the guild contract about reporters doing toady service, Art said. Why didn't you decline? Monk Clemens didn't give me a chance. He's a sly operator. There I was, sitting in his kitchen, mesmerized by fresh pineapple, broiled chicken livers, and eggs and sour cream. It was a female pineapple, what's more. What could I do? You'll have to choose between pride and gluttony, that's all. Don't you like the cat? Don't you like cats? Sure, I like animals, and this cat is more human than a few people I would name. But he gives me the uncomfortable feeling he knows more than I do, and he's not telling what it is. Art said, we have cats around the house all the time. The kids bring them home. But none of them ever give me an inferiority complex. Your kids never brought home a Siamese. You can stand it for 3 or 4 days. If it gets too much for you, we'll send a copy boy with a master's degree. he should be able to cope with a Siamese. Knock it off. Here comes Odd Birdson, Qwuilleran said. Even before the photographer approached, the cigar could be detected and the voice could be heard, complaining about the frigid temperatures outside. Odd tapped Qwuilleran on the shoulder. Are those cat hairs on your pal, or have you been dating a blonde with a crew cut? Qwuilleran combed his mustache with a swizzle stick. Odd said, I'm still on nights. Any of you guys want to eat with me? I got an hour for dinner if nobody blows up City Hall. I'll eat with you, Qwuilleran said. They found a table and consulted the menu. Odd ordered Salisbury steak, complimented the waitress on the trimness of her waistline, and then said to Qwuilleran, well, have you got old Monty figured out yet? If I went around insulting everybody the way he does, I'd get fired. Or assigned to the society. What's worse? How does he get away with it? Critics' license. Besides, the newspaper likes controversial writers. And where does he get all his money? I hear he lives pretty well. Travels a lot. Drives an expensive car. He doesn't do that on what the Flux pays him. Monk Clemens doesn't drive. Qwuilleran said, sure he does. I seen him behind the wheel. Saw him this morning. He told me he doesn't have a car. He rides taxis. Maybe he doesn't own one, but he drives one sometimes. How do you suppose he manages? No sweat. Automatic transmission. Didn't you ever do any one-arm driving? You must be a lousy lover. I used to drive with one arm, shift gears, and eat a hot dog all at the same time. I've got a few questions, too, Qwuilleran said. Are the local artists as bad as Monk Clemens says? Or is he a phony as the artists think? Monk Clemens says Howplay is a charlatan. Howplay says Zoe Lambeth's paintings are a hoax. Zoe says Sally Howplay is uninformed. Sandy says Monk Clemens is irresponsible. Monk Clemens says Fire is incompetent. Fire says Monk Clemens knows nothing about art. Monk Clemens says Earl Lambeth is pathetic. Lambeth says Monk Clemens is a monument of taste, truth, and integrity. So, who's on first? Listen, said Odd. I think they're paging me. The voice rumbled over the public address system, could hardly be heard above the hubbub of the bar. Yep, that's for me, the photographer said. Someone must have blown up City Hall. He went to the telephone, and Qwuilleran pondered the complexity of the art beat. When Odd Burnson returned from the telephone booth, he was taut with excitement. Qwuilleran thought, a press photographer for 15 years, and he still lights up when there's a 3-alarm fire. I've got news for you, said Odd, leaning over the table and keeping his voice low. What is it? Trouble on your beat. What kind of trouble? Homicide. I'm on my way to the Lambeth Gallery. The Lambeth? Qwuilleran stood up fast enough to knock over his chair. Who is it? Not Zoe. Nah, her husband. Know what happened? They said he was stabbed. Want to come with me? I told the desk you were here, and they said it would be good for you to cover it. Kendall's on a story, and both leg men are busy. Okay, I'll go. Better phone them back and say so. I've got my car outside. When Qwuilleran and Burson arrived in the front of the Lambeth Gallery, there was an unwanted calm in the street. The financial district was normally deserted after 5:30, and even a murder had failed to draw much of a crowd. A sharp wind whipped down the canyon, created by nearby office buildings, and only a few shriveling stragglers stood about on the sidewalk. But they soon moved on. A loneliness filled the street. Isolated voices sounded unreasonably loud. The newsmen identified themselves to the patrolmen at the door. Inside, the expensive art and plush furnishings made an unlikely backdrop for an assortment of uninvited guests. A police photographer was taking pictures of some paintings that had been viciously slashed. Bernson pointed out a precinct inspector and Hams, a detective from the homicide bureau. Hams nodded at them and jerked a thumb upstairs. The newsman started up the spiral staircase at the rear and then backed away to let the fingerprint man come down. He was talking to himself. He was saying, how can they get a stretcher down this thing? They'll have to take him out the window. Upstairs, a sharp voice was saying, come on, you fellas, you can't take care of that. Can't you take care of that downstairs? Let's thin out. That's Wojak from Homicide, said Bernson. No fooling around with him. The framing shop was approximately as Qwuilleran remembered it, except for the men with badges, cameras, and notebooks. A patrolman stood in the doorway to Lambert's office, facing out. Over his shoulder, Qwuilleran could see that the office had been fairly well wrecked. The body lay on the floor near the desk. He got Warjak's attention and flipped open a small notebook. Murderer known? No, the detective said. Victim, Earl Lambert's director of the gallery. Right. Method? Stabbed with a tool from the workbench. A sharp chisel. Where? Throat. A very wet job. Body discovered where? In his office. By whom? Victim's wife. Zoe. Victim's wife, Zoe. Qwuilleran took a second to gulp and grimace. That's spelled Z-O-E, the detective said. I know. Any sign of struggle? Office practically turned upside down. What about the vandalism in the gallery? Several pictures damaged. A statue broken. You can see that downstairs. What time did it happen? The electric clock knocked off the desk stopped at 6:15. The gallery was closed at that time. Right. Any evidence of forcible breaking and entering? No. Then the murderer could have been someone who had legitimate access to the place. Could be. We found the front door locked. The alley door may or may not have been locked when Mrs. Lambert arrived. Anything stolen? Not immediately apparent. Wojak started to move away. That's all. You've got the story. One more question. Any suspects? No.